It's a privilege to be here today to talk about a gentleman, and I do mean a gentleman that had a lot of success in his auto racing career. I'm referring to Dick Watson. His first win would come at Plainville Stadium, and we all remember Plainville Stadium, of course the owner, Joe Tinty, and so many talented drivers have come out of Plainville Stadium. He drove for a lot of great car owners in his career, and there's quite a few of them. And I also like to mention, he drove for 8 different car owners, and he won with 8 different car owners as well. Some of those owners, Norm Keyes, Bill Condon, Fred Doolittle, Bob Garbarino, who is still successful today on the NASCAR Fellow Modified Series as a car owner. He also drove for John Burnett, E.J. Trevette as well. And no matter where Dick Watson would go in his racing career, he was successful. He ran at tracks, as I mentioned, Plainville Stadium. He also ran at the tracks of like Thompson Speedway, Stafford Speedway, Trenton, Longhorn, Martinsville, Lonsdale, Norwood Arena, and Seekonk. He would have success there. He also drove for a gentleman by the name of Butch Frizzetti. He would have success with him as well. But if you talk to Dick Watson, he had success with owner Bob Garbarino. From that, he would go on, as I mentioned, to drive for several other people. But most of what he remembers the most in his racing career, and there's a lot, we'd be here all day talking about Dick Watson in his career, he got a special trophy in the mid-60s. It was a Special Achievement Award from NASCAR. Another big achievement award for Dick Watson, he was the Connecticut State Modified Champion. That is equal today as what we know as the Regional Championship. He also won the World Series at Thompson Speedway in 1966. And what was real memorable about that, Dick Watson won the modified portion of that event. Do you remember who won the sportsman event? It was Ed Flemke Sr. That sticks out in Dick Watson's mind. Some of the people that Dick Watson really looked up to in his auto racing career, and there were many, Dick Biergard, Don Collins, and Eddie Flemke Sr. As we told you about some of the other car owners, Fred Bieber was also an owner that Dick Watson drove for. Dick Watson also drove in the Grand National Division, what we know now as Winston Cup. He ran in 1967 at the Thompson Speedway, or correction, 1969, I'm sorry, and he would finish 13th in that Grand National event. He had so many other achievements in his career. As we told you, his most successful in his racing career was at the Waterford Speed Bowl. Many wins there. Dick Watson still returns to Waterford Speed Bowl to drive in a race car. That's right, every year at the Waterford Speed Bowl, they have what we know as Heroes or a Legends event, and he gets in the sportsman car, and guess what? He did what he did best. That was win. Also, I know when Dick Watson gets up here, there's so many people that he would like to thank in his auto racing career. He also ran at the Dover Speedway in a Grand National car as well. It gives me great pleasure to introduce to you a gentleman who had success everywhere that he ran. Would you please welcome Mr. Dick Watson.
Good afternoon, ladies, gentlemen, fellow competitors, and race fans. Thank you, Gary, for the introduction. I would also like to thank the New England Auto Racers Hall of Fame and the president of New England Antique Racers, Al Feeney, for a job well done. Thank you very much. My induction into the Near Hall of Fame represents not only my accomplishments, but each and every one of yours as well. I could not have had my racing career without you. As we all know, the sport depended on having car owners who believed in us and were willing to take a chance with us. For that opportunity, I would like to thank a few who have played an important role in my racing career. I started racing in 1953 at the New London Waterford Speedball, driving in a non-Ford division in a cut-down coupe with some success. The following year, 1954, the Speedball returned to the full-bodied coupes. I competed in that division at Plainville and West Haven as well. In fact, that year brought me my very first feature win. The following year, I returned to Plainville Stadium and Waterford Speedbowl, driving a flathead Ford Sportsman for John Lazier out of Middlefield, Connecticut. We also raced with flathead Fords at the Lonsdale Speedway in one of their 200-lap events. With teammate Joe McNulty, we each drove 100 laps to complete the 200 and finish a respectable 5th place. Some of the other race cars that I had the pleasure of driving on the speedways of the Northeast were the number 711 Gold Scorpion that was owned by John and Joanne Barnett, the number 305 owned by Paul Sikorsky, the number 75 and 76 with Bill Congdon, the V4 and the V41 owned by the Garbarino brothers, Bob and Skip, the number 21 Red Ram with Norm Keyes, E.J. Trevet's 09 Grand National, Fred Bieber with a checkerboard number 716. There were other race car owners that were giants in the sport that made me proud to have driven for them on a race-to-race basis. And those such names: Barney Tizzy, Butch Ferret, whom I drove for in Norwood Arena, Freddie Doolittle of the famed Freddie's TV, number 23, Billy Simons, number 9, Sharkey Gaddiosi in his number 4 car, Alan Peg Gadrew in that number 3 car, Bob Viteri and Dick Bombassi in their later years, John and Sonny Cazella at Thompson in the Woodchopper Special. In the early years of stock car racing, there weren't too many publications available, nor was there a racing media such as we have today. But there are some names that I'd like to mention that played an important part of promoting us as drivers to the public. Tiny Small with the New London Day, Ed Doherty with the Rhode Island newspapers, Gene Rucklow, Speedway Scene, B. Smith, Dave Shippey and John Brower, Dick Bergerman, Bruce Cohen, Lou Boyd, Owen Gousier, Phil Smith, Championship Trail, Don and Kathy Cody, who wrote the Near Publications, Pete Vanderveer, Dave Dykes, Gary Danko with his radio talk show, Tom Ormsby of VintageModified.com. All of the aforementioned car owners and media have played an important part of me standing here this afternoon accepting my induction into the Near Hall of Fame. I must also thank all my friends for being here to share this special afternoon with me. What would racing be without race fans? A couple of years ago, an old friend and acquaintance, Pete Zanardi, wrote a driver profile on me in the May 2000 issue of Trackside magazine. The title of the article was "In the Land of the Giants." After reading the story, I really never understood what the meaning or significance of that title was. I now fully understand it. And yes, Pete, I am truly in the land of the giants. Thank you very much.